Hey everybody, Jack Rita here. Welcome to the Warp. Today I'm going to talk about space stations in Cosmic Odyssey. Cosmic Odyssey is the latest and greatest expansion for Cosmic Encounter. It's the 7th expansion. It's really three expansions rolled into one. There's a campaign. There's a lot of brand new variants to Cosmic Encounter. And there is an expansion of all the other variants in Cosmic Encounter. And that's one of the things I'm going to talk about today. How this expansion expands on space stations. So space stations were first introduced in Cosmic Storm, which was the 4th expansion for Cosmic Encounter. It's a really interesting variant that I like a lot. You have a space station token that you place attached to one of your planets, and as long as you have a colony on that planet, you have the ability associated with that space station. Cosmic Storm came with 10 space stations, which is not a lot, especially for a game that is a little bit renowned for just the sheer volume of content in it, most notably the aliens, who are now, with this expansion, well over 200 aliens. And so that variety is a hallmark of Cosmic Encounter. So 10 space stations was a little bit disappointing, especially for what's a pretty good variant. So Cosmic Odyssey builds on that. It does include 10 more space stations, but it also includes 2 new types of space stations and adds 8 of each of those. So 26 new space stations overall to add to the 10 that you can get in Cosmic Storm. So you can combine them, but there's enough in this expansion that it's standalone. That's one of the things I like probably the most about Cosmic Odyssey, is the fact that it is a big sampler platter of everything that Cosmic Encounter can offer you. It, in my opinion, makes a great first expansion. If you haven't gotten the other ones, you should get Cosmic Odyssey. One of the biggest reasons you might want to start with something like Cosmic Incursion, which is a great expansion, it's the first one, is that it does add another player to the base game. So the base game will play up to 5. With the first 3 expansions, Incursion, Conflict, and Alliance, each one adds another player to get you up to a potential of 8. 8 is a lot, but I love playing it with a lot of players. It's a very social game. There's virtually no downtime. So even if you don't get a turn, there's usually a lot you can still do just about every turn. But I think a lot of people will argue that 5 or 6 is the sweet spot. I like 6 more than 5, but that's just me. So let's get back to space stations. There are 10 new space stations in Cosmic Odyssey, and they have their own corresponding space station cards that tell you what the effect is and how to use them. So I'll give you a couple of samples here. We have the artifact detection grid. Let's find that guy. Here we go. So that's what that one looks like, the artifact detection grid. After another player plays an artifact, you may gain 1 reward. So as long as you've got a colony on your planet with that space station, you've got that ability, which is pretty handy. We have the Flux Capacitor. It's a space station with a clear reference to another sci-fi franchise. After alliances are formed, if you are invited to both sides, place a cosmic token on this card. After cards are selected, but before cards are revealed, if you are an ally, you may spend a token from this card to switch to the other side. So you can jump into an alliance, and maybe you see that after you've allied, all the other players have allied with the other side. So maybe you're thinking, I don't know if I want to stay on that side. We have another one, speaking of science fiction references. So this is the Oscillation Overthruster. So, leave a comment if you know what that one was from. After determining the winner of the encounter, add both encounter totals together. If the sum is at least 42, you may send all of your ships from this planet to the targeted planet. So it's a great one if you're the defensive ally to get a foreign colony all of a sudden, especially if you're throwing in some reinforcements to boost that total up to 42 or higher. And there are plenty of others, including, and this is kind of interesting, this one is called the observation platform. And if you're familiar with the space stations in Cosmic Storm, you'll know that there is already a space station called the observation platform, and it has a completely different effect and look. After alliances are formed, if you are not a main player or ally, you may either free 2 of your ships from the warp or draw 1 card from the deck. So one of the big themes of Cosmic Odyssey is that it is a journey through space and time into parallel universes of Cosmic Encounter. So you're going to experience things that look familiar or sound familiar, but are different. And one of the other ways that we have exploited that is with the alternate timeline aliens. So we do have aliens that have a familiar name, but like this one is, oops, not that one. This one is, looks a lot like the Macron. This one's the Micron. Similar effects, but not exactly the same. Similarly, there's a void that's different from the original void. There's a zombie that's different from the original one. So this observation platform is just another example of how that works out. So 10 more of these, but then 2 new types of space stations. So we've got, if we look at the backs of the space station cards, and then we've got one that is a deep space station. And these are on different tokens. They have a smaller cardboard footprint that has a hexagon shape. And again, if you're familiar with the original editions of Cosmic Encounter, the player systems were on these big hexagon boards, and that had your 5 planets on it. So I wanted to do something that, again, harkened back to the original edition of Cosmic Encounter. So these deep space stations, they're not attached to a planet. They're just out there in front of your system. Similar to how the moons used to work in the old version, but you can't attack and target these deep space stations. They're just out there. And as long as you maintain a certain number of your home colonies, you continue to have use of the deep space station. So let's look at a couple of those. Here we have, this one is called the Burst Targeter. As the defense or a defensive ally, before encounter cards are selected, you may force 2 ships of your choice on the other side to return to their colonies. So while you control the Burst Targeter, other players are going to have to commit a lot of ships to the encounter. Otherwise, they risk getting booted out of it. Let's look at, here we go. This is the Obligatron. As an ally, after you send ships into the encounter, declare a number. For each player that becomes an ally after you, if that player sends more ships than the number you chose, you may take a card from their hand at random. So this is going to be a big deal depending on the turn order, how early you're able to ally while you control the Obligatron. And you can use that very tactically to either discourage people from jumping in or knowing that you can penalize them if they do. And we'll take a look at one more. This one right here is called the Option Cycler. As a main player, after you reveal an attack card with a value of at least 11, you may treat it as a negotiate. If the card's value was at least 20, collect triple the compensation if applicable. So a way to really, if somebody is attacking or you're in an encounter and they've got a really big hand of cards, you can really absorb a lot of those cards into your hand. And finally, we come to the other type of space station. So that is the Sky Cities. They come on these little triangular tokens, and they actually go on the planet. So they're inspired by Cloud City from Empire Strikes Back. So these all have a similar kind of look and feel. Imagine one of these just sort of floating above the surface of the planet up there in the clouds. And the way they work is everybody who has a colony on a planet with the Sky City has the use of that effect. So a big change from how space stations normally work. So let's look at a couple of these Sky Cities here. So first of all, we've got, this one is the Big Space Laser. As a main player, after encounter cards are revealed, you may add 3 to your total for each player with a colony on this planet. So everyone's going to want to have a colony on the planet with the Big Space Laser, but the more players that do, the more powerful it becomes. And again, there's a space station, the big space cannon, I believe is what it's called. Similar kind of effect, but it's sort of the opposite. You have to be by yourself in order to get a big +10. Whereas with the big sky laser, the more people that are on that planet, the more powerful it becomes. Here, this one is called, if I can find it, here it is. This one right here is called the Zaptimizer. You may treat any artifact you play as a card zap. Then it explains how the card zap works. It negates a flare or artifact just as the player attempts to use it, and they have to discard it. This one here is the Golden City. And the Golden City, after you make a deal, you gain 2 rewards. So it fosters deals. And so there you have it. So there are 8 deep space stations and 8 sky cities. So you can't have a game where, in an 8-player game, everybody's got one. In fact, we like to play a game where everyone's got a deep space station, a sky city, and a regular space station. And it really makes which planets you're targeting or deals can be a much more important element in a game with sky cities, because you can entice people to exchange a colony so that only you guys have colonies on the planet with the sky city. People tend to want to target the sky city, and they can usually get a lot of allies on the offense. So it does make for some interesting dynamics in the game. So that is space stations. I'm really excited to have a lot more space stations in the game, because as I said, it's a variant that I like. I find it's distinct enough from moons that I actually enjoy having a game with moons and space stations. Then you've got 3 of the planets in your system have got something else going on, maybe more with the Sky City. The sky's the limit. So that's it for today. Thanks for watching. We'll keep going because there's a lot of material in Cosmic Odyssey to cover, too much for one video, so breaking this up into 15 different videos. Join us on our Future Pastimes Discord. There's a link on futurepastimes.com, which just takes you right to cosmicencounter.com. So zap on.